Well, good afternoon, St Mark's, and thanks for tuning in and joining us. I'm really privileged to have Pablo and Ruth Turner dialing in. Now, Paul and Ruth are our mission partners with Latin Link out in Peru, and this week they would have been joining us at St Mark's, and they would have been with us at church on Sunday. Unfortunately, due to coronavirus, that's not possible, but they are here via Skype to talk to you, our church family. So, do you want to introduce yourself? Say hello. Ruth.
Hi everybody. I'm Ruth. I'm from Northern Ireland, and we normally live in Peru, and we work with Latin Link, but I'm actually in Northern Ireland at the moment with my mum.
Yeah, and I'm Paul, married to Ruth, and normally we'd be together, but nearly 10 weeks ago we said bye-bye, don't know when I'll see you again, and Ruth went over to Northern Ireland to be with her mum, and I came up to Yorkshire to be with my dad, and we're really not quite sure yet when we'll be together again, but we hope it'll be sooner rather than later.
So you're on a kind of a furlough from, which is, for those who don't know, is kind of it's 6 months, isn't it? That you're back in the UK. You're still doing your job, working for Latin Link, but this is some time out to connect with family, supporters, and for you both to have a rest and a break and a holiday. Is that right?
Absolutely, that's right. Normally, during these times, we would be like rushing up and down the motorway, getting on a ferry between Northern Ireland and England, and just visiting churches, family, supporters. And so we're kind of doing that, but it's on the virtual highway.
Zoom and Skype.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty weird start to your 6 month furlough. You're both in separate countries. You're not together. And you don't know when you are going to be able to be together. Not an ideal start to your 6 month furlough.
No.
No, but at least we're able to laugh and all see.
Oh, good. Well, it's so good that you're able to be here. We've got a few questions to ask you. So let me crack on and say, Ruth, what have you learned about who God is during this sort of coronavirus period of time?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that I would like to share. And one is just that sense of him being in control and guiding our steps. We hadn't planned, we didn't leave Peru because we wanted to avoid the virus there. That had all been planned, and we'd actually had thought that we were going to leave a little bit later in March. But I was then going to be going to a conference on member care in Spain. So we decided to go a few weeks earlier, and it just happened that we left 4 days before the doors closed in Peru. So just even those little things, and the fact that we're able to support our elderly parents at this time, and it's hard being away from them normally, but this is one of the times when they need us most. So that's a real blessing. And then at the beginning of this time, God brought a verse to me, and it's from 2 Thessalonians 3:16. And it says, "Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times and in every way. The Lord be with all of you." And so it was just like, wow, his peace, he wants to give it to us at all times and in every way. And that's just something that's kept coming back to me, and I'm holding on to and sharing with others as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ruth. That idea of God's sovereignty and the peace that he brings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, Pablo, what about you? What is it that you've been learning about God during this time?
No, absolutely. And needless to say, that conference that Ruth was planning to go to in Spain never happened. It got cancelled, but it did mean that we got to the UK before lockdown in Peru. Yeah. 10 weeks ago, we did actually manage to go to one service before the lockdown in the UK started. And it was with our sending church in Welwyn Garden City. And it was lovely that we actually had that one opportunity of meeting as a gathered sort of family of God. And I really sensed during that service, God speak to me very clearly and say what he wanted me to be for the community of Latin Link during this season. And it was this, I sensed God saying, Paul, I want you to be a non-anxious presence. Really loud and clear. Now, I also recognized that that was not something that I could be in my own strength, because humanly speaking, everything calls out to you to be anxious, to be worried, to be afraid. Yeah. So how can you actually be a non-anxious presence? Well, really the only way is actually by going deeper with God. And in a very special way, I've sensed over these last couple of months, just each day actually resting in the Lord and going deeper with him in prayer and in his word. One of the blessings of being with my dad here in Swallow Nest is that each day actually we have a time of daily devotions together. And just the interaction and conversation that we have around God's word, and then we pray together, and that has been such an encouragement. But yeah, that's the one really key thing that I've learned is just in terms of going deeper with God and resting in him.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. That's really encouraging to hear. Funnily enough, that's one of the things that I'd be encouraging our church family to remember, is that all of us could look to be a non-anxious presence in our world, as people are struggling with the fear and the anxiety that all of this virus brings about. And with God's help and his spirit, we can be that non-anxious presence.
Absolutely.
Well, that's really encouraging to hear. Let me ask you a slightly frivolous question then. What are you missing most in lockdown?
Well, apart from Paul, of course.
Glad you said that.
I am really missing, I'm in Northern Ireland, in the UK, where we have so many friends who we don't get to see very often. We only get to see them once every 3 years. And so we're here and we don't get to see anyone apart from, it's lovely to be with family. But I miss meeting up with good friends for a cup of coffee, in a lovely coffee shop, not one of these ones that you find in every city in the world. You just the delights of all of that. Just meeting up with friends, going to people's houses. So that's been hard. That I've missed that. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Pablo? What have you been missing most?
Yeah, well, obviously it goes without saying, I've been missing just being with Ruth. Yeah. And being able to connect online, which we do every day, is not the same. But apart from that, I think I'm just missing that physical contact with people. You might not know, but in Latin America there are 2 countries which are equal first in the complete opposite of social distancing. Okay, so people who need to have real physical, tactile contact with one another, and the first is Argentina, and the other equal first is Peru. So Argentinians, Peruvians need contact, touch. So I'm just missing that so much. I mean, do manage to have some social distant contact. Like I went to the post office the other day to post some parcels. I've never tried to engage the person across the counter with me I was just trying to string out the conversation with them. So I'm just missing that physical contact. And also, normally, like we come to the UK, we look forward to things like fish and chips.
Yeah.
It's I mean, Asda does a great one in a packet which you put in the microwave, but it's not the same, is it?
So that's interesting, because I was going to ask you next, what are you looking forward to doing most when lockdown's lifted? I mean, apart from seeing each other, what's the first thing you're going to go out and do that you can't do at the moment?
Well, I was going to say I'd hope that we'd be able to see each other and maybe have a few days together or a week together and go somewhere nice by the coast. I'd love to go to the beach and be able to walk on the beach. That's something I'd really like.
Yeah. No, and I think for me it's to give somebody a hug. Now the thing is, I know that lockdown will be lifted gradually. So when lockdown is completely lifted and we don't have to socially distance, I think I'm just going to run around hugging
everyone.
Everyone, complete strangers. Perhaps hopefully I'm back in Peru by then, where that would be quite normal, but I might get arrested in the UK if I did that.
Brilliant. Okay, so what would be really good to know now is kind of what are you doing in your role in working for Latin Link to kind of respond to the coronavirus in the people that you're caring for, working for? What are you doing at the moment?
Yeah, thank you, Dan. So I coordinate member care for all of our mission partners at international level. And just a year and a half, we began a new role in each team, and that role is a member care facilitator. So now in every country team, we have one person who is a named person responsible for facilitating member care. And I have never been so thankful. Just having many more people in our member care structure. And at this particular time, that's been really good. So I'm doing training with these member care facilitators every 2 weeks. So I have one group in, yesterday I met with a group in English, and today I meet with a group in Spanish. And so there's a planning for that. I have lots of pastoral conversations. Some of those facilitators, some team leaders come and they want to talk through things. Some people are just finding it particularly difficult, and we have a good relationship, so we chat things out. We've also been working on guidelines as restrictions and lockdowns change, and we're just keeping up very much aware of all of those situations and trying to be a step ahead in terms of preparing our team members for what comes next, helping them to think through their own well-being, how things that they can be doing. Even though there's so many restrictions, there are some things that we are in control of, how we look after ourselves. So all of those things.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're having to keep abreast of governmental decisions in all the countries in Latin America as well as the UK.
Well, most of that comes really through our conversations with team leaders and member care facilitators. So yeah, it would be very hard to keep in, and they change very quickly as well. There have been some really, really tight restrictions in Latin America, like in Bolivia. Only one person from each family can leave the house one morning per week
Wow.
to go shopping and to go to the pharmacy. And for 2 whole weeks, no one was allowed to go out away from their street. They were allowed to go to a corner shop in their street, but after that, nothing. And so in Guatemala over the weekend, no one was allowed out of the house for 3 days, and they were only told like on Thursday night, and that was the beginning.
Wow.
So it's been quite tough, for families doing homeschooling, maybe living in an apartment, not being able to get out, and lots of people are facing that here, but not being able to actually go out to a park or go out to walk is really difficult.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty. You think we've got it bad here?
Yeah.
That's pretty extreme. So Pablo, tell us, what about you and your role? How are you kind of responding to coronavirus in what you're doing?
Yeah, no, thanks, Dan. So before coronavirus, before the pandemic, a large part of my role was actually meeting every month for an online conversation individually with each of our country team leaders. So there's 12 of those, 4 who are in Europe and 8 in Latin America. So those conversations carry on, and they perhaps got a slightly different focus than before. So very much in terms of supporting them, and obviously in the time that we're living, I'm just having to be available 24/7, because situations do come up and they can't wait until our next scheduled meeting. There are things that need discussing and talking through immediately. And I remember it must have been about 8 weeks ago now, one of our team leaders just WhatsApping me about a Latin Link member who was due to get on one of these emergency flights back to the UK, and she basically WhatsApped me and said, person that they're on the flight, but the airline had miscalculated in terms of the number of seats, and people are having to leave the flights because they haven't got enough. Please can you pray that our person does get on this flight? And what do? You just pray, and you just wait and wait. And then an hour later, I get another message saying this person got upgraded. They're on the flight. They're back. And yeah, so a lot of that is just about being available, responding to the needs, and as you said, each government around the world has their own interpretation and their own guidelines. So as Latin Link, as an international organization, the advice that we give has to be very general and cannot in any way contradict any local advice. So we need real wisdom as we do that, but and every situation is individual, and so the support is very personalized, and but just an absolute privilege to do that, and to walk with people. One of the things we've really noticed, I mean, again, Ruth mentions about the foresight she had in creating this member care facilitator role. Well, I remember when we had our last international assembly, that's when we all get together as a community of Latin Link, and that was in 2018. My vision for Latin Link was that we would strengthen community. So for the last 2 years, we've been really working hard on strengthening community within teams, but also across Latin Link. Little did I know how valuable that would be for this time that we're living through. And we've seen just some precious, beautiful examples of community going across Latin Link. For instance, one of our team leaders who organizes a Zoom call each week for all the children in her team. Fantastic. And that's just one small example that is replicated across our community. And
so that sense in children being able to share their own experiences and support each other,
absolutely,
and hang out together and share their experiences of being mission
absolutely
children.
Definitely.
Brilliant. It's so encouraging to meet up with you guys and to hear some stories and to hear how you are. It'd be really good for us to know how can we best be praying for you at this time. We can't obviously have you come and speak in our church and meet you face to face. It's been good to hear from you both, but how can we continue to stand with you and support you prayerfully at this time?
Thank you.
Yeah, you could be praying. One of the groups of people you could be praying for are our Latin Link mission partners, or our members, as we often call them. And the meeting that I had yesterday with our English-speaking member care facilitators, we were just talking through the overwhelming sense of tiredness that people are feeling at this stage, which you will understand. Frustration, anxiety in some cases, people who had holiday booked for April that had to be cancelled, and the whole thing of what do we do? I'm really, really tired, but do I want to take holiday here in this situation? And so all of those things that many of you are facing as well. There's been a lot of loss as well as there has been for people across the world. And some of our short-term people have returned to their sending countries, which is understandable. But that obviously affects the people who are left, and is hard. And there's also concern about family on the other side of the world, whether that's parents or in some cases grown-up children and grandchildren. So for our members. And then if you could pray for our member care facilitators, you can understand that their role is really key, and just pray for wisdom, for that they will be able to look after themselves well, and model that towards others. And linked into that for ourselves, just that God will give us wisdom, and just as we meet with people, that we'll have empathy, and that we'll get to see each other again soon.
Okay, brilliant. And Pablo, some prayer points from you?
Thank you. No, just to add to that, I mentioned my role in supporting team leaders. If you could really pray for each of our Latin Link country team leaders. They're the people on the coal face leading their teams, and they, as Ruth and I do, need a lot of wisdom, compassion, grace, to be filled with the Spirit, to be filled with that peace that only comes from Jesus. So if you could pray for them. And likewise, also, Ruth already mentioned just praying for our members, but I'd also like to ask for that, but with a focus on those of our members who are really on the front line of responding to the pandemic. So we have a number of members who are involved in medical work. So a doctor in the south of Ecuador, you know, part of a clinic, whether attending people, and other people just going out, particularly in terms of food distribution of medicine. And obviously they're taking all the precautions that you would expect, but they're part of being in God's mission is putting, you know, yourself at risk. And so I just pray for God's protection, especially on our members who are on the front line and who are responding in very practical ways in very needy situations.
Okay. Well, that's quite a few things that we can be praying and supporting you with. And we'll be focusing in our midday prayers at the week beginning the 1st of June and praying for Latin Link and for Paul and Ruth particularly, and the teams that you're leading and the people that you're caring for and leading as well. So we want to thank you both so much for taking the time to Zoom and be willing to be interviewed. And thank you so much for all that you're doing, and know that we are with you and supporting you and praying for you here at St Mark's.
Brilliant. And
as we close, do you want to say any closing?
I think I should have said this at the beginning, but it's good at the end if people are still watching. But we just want to thank St Mark's so much for your partnership with us. It's an absolute privilege for us to be mission partners with you, and you know, we really sense your support. You're walking with us, you're praying with us, and we're so thankful. We don't feel that we're able to do what we do without your support. So I want to send all our love and virtual social distance hugs, or whatever it is that we do now, to you all, because you mean so much to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul and Ruth. It's been really good to talk with you. Bless you both. Know that we're with you and we're standing with you and praying with you, and may God continue to bless you in all that you're doing. Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.